Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Political Theater, everybody. Thank you guys for joining me this evening. If you guys are joining us on YouTube, Rumble, Substack, wherever you guys may be tuning in, we are finally back here at the studio in Ohio. Finally back. It's been a long trip. We've been out and doing all sorts of traveling, and that's not going to stop, apparently. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to do next week. We're going to be in D.C. now. Apparently, I was supposed to go to Jersey, but looks like we're going to reroute through D.C. I might spend a little bit of time over in Jersey, but we've got a lot to talk about tonight, guys. So going into next week, I think it'll be normal show Monday, probably not a normal show Tuesday. It'll probably be just a live video show on that day. But if you guys are joining us on the X Space, I'm happy to have everybody back in here. So we'll get everybody in here rolling here just very shortly. Before we do that, though, make sure you guys link the share the link out. Make sure you guys know everybody knows that we are live. If you guys want to leave a comment down below, put your comments down anywhere, and I do read them throughout the show. I try to read them during the show, anything that you guys want to say, and I'm always curious what you guys have to say. Any feedback, I'm always willing to hear it. So, guys, make sure you guys share it out. This is the Political Theater. I'm Walter Curtis. So let's get rolling, guys. The biggest topic today is the Hawala trading system, stuff that I didn't even know existed, but I have now become within a day, figured out as much as I possibly can about it. I'm not going to say I'm any sort of expert, but I happen to have a friend who is an expert in it, who has helped me out quite considerably figuring out how this whole system works. And this is all in relation to our Somali fraud investigation. Now, I do want to clarify something for a few people that have been commenting, and I've seen people saying stuff like this. It's not just Somalis. Yes, no, it's not just Somali guys. We know that. Okay, like it's not just Somali fraud. It's not just Somalis that are doing this. This is a very consistent thing across Muslim nations, essentially. The Hawala trading system is. So there's a lot more to it than just the Somalis. But we're going to make sure that I'm referring to it as the Somali fraud investigation because, well, it just sounds better like that. And, you know, it just works better. The Leering Center, Nick Shirley, all that. Now, it's easier just to call it the Somali fraud investigation. But anyway, so we have been trying to figure out how this money moves around and the logistics behind it. And, it's an enormous amount of money. It's not a small amount of money that they're moving about. And, with this amount that we have found, according to the past 2 years, $700 million, the biggest thing that keeps sticking to us is the amount of money, the physical amount, not just the dollar signs, okay? Like, $1 million here, $100 million. To be honest with you, $700 million isn't even really all that much in terms of large-scale amounts of money for, criminal networks, stuff like that. But it's the physical amount in the short amount of time that we have. That's what makes this interesting, guys. So that's what we've been trying to figure out, because tracing and figuring out how a network could actually even generate $700 million in cash in 2 years, that means you need $1 million in cash every single day for that 2-year period. That's not easy to do. That's a serious logistical effort to be able to do that, which is why it's easier for us to figure it out and why we started looking into it. So I did some numbers today that I think are worth mentioning to everybody, and I'm going to explain briefly before we get into those numbers what exactly a Hawala trading broker is, something that I didn't even know existed, and I don't know if everybody else is aware of what a Hawala broker is, but I wasn't. So I'm going to explain it briefly to you. So the Hawala trading system is a money broker system that has existed in the Middle East and in sub-Saharan, or not sub-Saharan, just African countries in general for generations, apparently. It's not something that's new. It's a very old system that has existed for a very long time, has been operational, and has these people that are considered trusted brokers. And this is something that's operated for centuries, apparently. I don't know. I mean, this is something that is very common in the Middle East. It's also something that happens across China. They've got a different name for it there. But anyway, so the way that this works, there's a broker that operates in the United States. And you want to send money from the United States to Mogadishu, okay? So you can't do that in a normal wire transfer. There's no banking system that allows you to send directly from somewhere in Minnesota directly over to this area over here, okay? So that's not how that works. So once you go outside of that, how exactly do you go from there? How do you get across, right? So how do you get that money across? Well, the way that you do it is you set it up through a Hawala trader. And a Hawala trader, the way that this works is they have cash over there already. And then they move that cash. So when you say wire, when you hear these people talking about wiring money, right? They're not really wiring money like you would think about it. That's not what's happening. They're not wiring money at all. What they're really doing is they're sending money in a broker system, and they physically move the cash over there. Okay, so but it's not like it's like one day. So you go over and say you want to say 10 grand to Mogadishu. It's not like they say, okay, now send the $10,000 guy. No, like that's not how this works. They have cash already. Okay, so the broker A says, okay, here's a transaction to broker B. Broker B says, okay, here's your transaction. You get the cash right away, and then those two brokers, they settle up with each other later. Okay, so that's periodically they'll balance the books between the two of them, and that's how they figure out that later. But that system is a physical money movement system. You know, when they're talking about wiring money, at some point, physical cash is going to leave broker A and go to broker B. It's not like they wire it over some, whatever the hell it may be. And why they do it like that, that's a kind of a good question, to be honest with you. I'm not sure I really fully understood it until we realized that, well, maybe you don't want to be part of the banking system. You don't want it to be part of any banking system, really, which leads us back to where we are in the United States, which is the money, the amount of money. It is a ton of it. I mean, you were talking 8 physical tons of money, 7.7 metric tons of cash. Okay, so figuring out how you move that much cash and how you even source that much cash is where we're at now. And why I think it's the most important part of it, because just think about this. And now, and for some perspective, okay, the reason it's more than one state involved would be $1 million every single day in Minnesota would essentially equivalent to like 1 to 2% of their total cash transactions every day. So that would get flagged pretty quickly. And it's not going to get, even if you say there's a couple people that are like, well, the state agency's not going to do it. Well, guys, the state agencies aren't the one that are going to be even flag that. You're talking Federal Reserve is going to flag that. Federal oversight would flag that because they're the ones that have to distribute cash out to these different branches of the banks so that it can constantly replenish the cash. So if you constantly see a 10x volume of cash being sucked out of the system, then it would send up some flags. Well, but we also know that it's not $700 million directly in Minnesota already. We know that for a fact. We know $130 million of that came directly from Ohio. So that's 2 states involved. Is that possible? Well, we looked at those numbers. Those numbers don't seem feasible either. The amount would strain still. The Cleveland Federal Reserve Bank that would actually be able to, one that's going to distribute to Ohio, wouldn't be able to keep up with that, and it would have also flagged it. So as we went through these numbers, we started to realize that it's not really even possible for it to be only 1 or 2 states. We're talking a 5 to 6, possibly 8 state network that's doing this. And that's the only way you could do it without it being flagged constantly across multiple different systems, how you get it flagged over top of oversight. So this is truly a fully interstate fraud ring that is washing the money and then shipping it to the pirate run airport of Minneapolis and then shipping it overseas to Dubai. Now, that's all run through the Hawala trading system, which why we allow a Hawala trading system in the United States to ship pallets of cash out of the United States to other countries with zero oversight is beyond me. I don't understand it at all. I'm at a loss, to be honest with you. I don't grasp why we allow this, why we thought it was okay, why we just noticed it now. All of these things are serious problems to me. I mean, I just think this is insanity to me. The fact that we live in a world where if you want to bring cash into the United States, or if you're an American citizen and you want to do anything, they would flag that instantaneously. But apparently, if you show up in the freaking Minneapolis airport with a duffel bag and 2 Somalis, you can have $4 million. And they're like, well, but you just declared it. Have a nice day. I mean, I don't understand that. Does anyone, does that sound normal to anybody? Like, to the TSA people? No. Okay, none of that's normal, guys. This is obviously a huge problem. And the fact that it was going on for as long as it was is completely insane. So, again, that lands us at that same issue, though. How much money is involved in this Hawala system? And because we're not even catching all of it. That's the biggest part about this. We're not catching all of it, and we don't even know where it goes. We don't even know where it goes. Once it leaves our shores and lands in Dubai, we stopped tracking it, apparently. How insane is that? So we don't even know how they're sourcing it. We don't know how they're sourcing it from those people. But the amazing thing about this is that, that means essentially right now, probably, there's a Somali sitting in the Minneapolis airport with $3 million in a duffel bag. Holy shit. I mean, that's crazy. So in light of that, though, apparently the Trump administration is paying attention, which is great. This is good stuff that they're actually paying attention to this. And Scott Besson has put this out. And I'm going to play this video here because this just came out here from Jesse Waters. This was out just a minute ago, so this is worth listening. So check this out.
We're so grateful for the partnership of Secretary Best and the Trump administration. So he started a new program where they're going to limit cash out to $2,000 a person, which is going to be a dramatic change for a lot of people. And they're also going to be geo-tracking all the cash that's leaving the Hennepin County or Ramsey County, which is where, a lot of this population lives. And so that will really help, because before they hadn't been tracking where the money went. And once it got to Dubai, they assumed, it was hard to track because it was going through the Hawala network.
Do you think Walz knew, or is he just an idiot?
It's been so widely reported, there's no way he couldn't have known. It's been known since his first year in 2019. There was an OLA report at that time that thought there would maybe be $100 million in childcare fraud, and talked about the ties to terrorism, and that whistleblower was ignored and hounded, actually retaliated against. So everyone's been willfully turning a blind eye in the Walz administration.
So he knew about it.
So there you go. So this is, and the interesting thing about this, she mentions 2019. We actually found a really interesting article that's worth reading. If you guys happen to see, there was somebody that joined this show a couple nights ago that I didn't manage to get to them when they requested to come up and speak on the space. And it was actually the person who put out the thread that sent us down this trail figuring out what this Hawala network was. And that's where we figured this out, because there was a link to an article in there that showed that in 2020, when COVID happened, the Hawala network was panicking because they couldn't get cash out of the country. And cash was just piling up, apparently. And they couldn't figure it out. They said, thousands of families are reliant on the Hawala network. Oh, no. Like, wow. Okay, so we know this is happening. We've known that they're sending out millions of dollars through this Hawala network, and then we're not tracking it and not figuring out where it's gone afterwards. And the question is, how much has actually gone out? Because we don't know. We have no idea. I mean, at some point, the declared cash, the way that I think this worked, and this is just a theory, but I'm just going to guess that what this really happened was that the Somalis just did it anyway. They just sent out the money anyway, and then anytime they got caught, then they declared it. So that's what I think was really going on. So there's just random Somalis are wandering through the Minneapolis airport with tons of cash, and then at the end of that, then whenever they get caught, then they declare the cash, and then that's how we're flagging it. That's what my guess is. I haven't seen the true details on that yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and assume that's probably what's been going on here. But this network itself, apparently is centuries old, has been used for all sorts of illicit stuff, and is essentially one of the number one things we think is how they fund terrorism across the world. So why on earth are we allowing this? This should just been shut down immediately. And the question is, how many of them are there? How many Hawala networks are there? How much cash is moving? I assume it's not just going to be through Minneapolis. That's not going to be the only place. I think anywhere where you're going to see a significant Somali population, you're going to find even more of this stuff. So that's where we're at in terms of the Hawala network, and it is truly a hell of a lot of cash. That's why the name of the show this evening. And I want to welcome up to the stage Jordan Daly. Thank you for joining me, man. I'm going to make you co-host just in a second, and I'm going to make sure everyone else share the link out, guys. This is the Political Theater. Thank you guys for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Walter, for always having me. I do think, like you said, this is actually insane. And the amount of fraud that we're seeing go through, especially through a different network that I'm pretty sure 90% of Americans had no idea about, is actually insane.
Yeah, that's what's crazy about it. Like, I remember when I read this essay, it was like, I sent it to a couple of people and said, you ever heard of this? And they're like, nope, never heard of it before. That's kind of a problem. Like, when people that I trust that are very well informed have never heard of this sort of thing before, it's like, guys, that's not good. That's not good at all. That we don't know what this thing is. This is something we need to figure out pretty quickly.
This is something that, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure. I would say probably under 1% of people know about. Obviously, if you've traveled to foreign countries, you do know about moving money around in a certain direction. But usually you go to either a bank to do it, especially like a TD, which is between America and Canada, or you go to an actual exchange place. I didn't even know there was one where it's just like, I'm just going to send them $750 million and they're just going to broker it out later. I've never even heard of that, to be honest with you.
And neither did I. I mean, that's the concept is kind of foreign to anybody in America to think that, you can just move, I don't know, millions of dollars in cash and no one has anything in the banking system and there's no tracking of any of it. That's wild to me. I mean, that's something that I didn't even know existed. But apparently These people that do this, they're considered trusted people, and it's a centuries old tradition that they've kept up for many, many years. And there's families that do it. So the funny part about it to me is that when you hear these people talk about wiring money, what they mean is physically moving the money. So when you see one of these little Mogadishu places in Minneapolis, they're talking about wiring money. That's what they mean. They mean you're physically moving the cash. That is wild to me. I mean, that's just something like I wouldn't even have thought about that. I mean, I don't even really understand it. Like, why don't you use a cashier's check? Why wouldn't you use gold? There's so many other ways you could do this. But if you're trying to move physical dollars, apparently this is the way that's done.
Hold on. Let me recycle really quick because this is broken. Very broken.
No problem. Go ahead, Keymaker.
Yeah, I'm already in, Jordan. You just sent me an invite, but I'm already in. Thanks for having me up, Walter. I was going to ask you, for the listeners, like, what does this Hawala even mean? Did you look into the definition? I did, and I got a little bit of an understanding of it, but I'm starting to think that this network isn't just going to be the group of Somalians. I think there's going to be other groups of refugees, immigrants.
Well, that's what I said at the
this.
beginning of this. It's not just the Somalis. Okay, so like I refer to this investigation generally as the Somali fraud investigation, but that's just because it's a easy name to call it. I mean, it's any Middle Eastern group or in any Muslim group specifically that does this. The Hawala network is something that exists in Muslim cultures and exists in a way that they've done it for centuries. It's just something that we don't do and something we don't understand because it's something that they do in their culture.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when I was looking into it. I was looking because it's an ancient kind of idea that they've been using for a long time. And I think that, with the advent of the, current monetary system, they've made like adjustments on, how they're going to utilize this network design that they've created. But it is very interesting that if you look at how much money it is, and I think you just started touching on this, I'm not going to be shocked to find out that there are people inside of these government checks and balances that were somehow involved. I'm not necessarily going to say they were taking money. Maybe they were maybe they were ideologically aligned or something, but I can't believe that with all of the checks and balances that you would have to go through to prevent large amounts of cash from being stripped out of the economy. That's not an easy feat, right? Like, it's not possible.
That's what my point is. Like, the biggest thing to me that when I'm looking at all this is that the physical amount, okay, this is what it sticks with you when you think about, like, everyone, like, you hear, oh my goodness, everyone hears about like the fraud. Oh, there's billions of dollars in fraud in government money. Like, paper money is different than actual physical dollars. Like, on paper, like, oh, you owe this company $1 billion is different than physically $1 billion in cash. It's a difference. It's a categorical difference because you have to figure out how to source that. To be able to source $700 million, $1 million a day, every single day, consistently for 2 years is not a simple feat. I mean, this is what I said it at the open of the show, but I'll repeat it one more time here. Just the fact. So if it was just Minnesota, okay, just Minnesota does about $50 to $100 million a day in cash transactions. So that would equate to 1% to 2% of their total cash transactions every day. There's no way you wouldn't be able to track that. And not only that, it's the federal oversight behind that would have caught it. Okay, like there would have been some sort of catch inside there because there's multiple different layers of oversight when it comes to federal money. I mean, when it comes to cash, especially because the Federal Reserve has to keep track of that stuff to be able to dish out and constantly redistribute the money that they're having to, sit in the bank so they can use it. I mean, that's the deal. So the amount of cash itself is what causes this to be such an issue and why that it has to be multiple different states. It can't just be one single group or one single state because the amount's too high. It would strain the system. You would notice it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was for me, it was about 15, maybe 20 years ago already. I'm getting old now, but I didn't know what structuring was, right? So there's a specific phrase that they use in FinCEN and your bank is actually looking for. So I started a business actually, and I actually got in trouble because I was using a person, like not in a lot of trouble, but like basically the bank figured it out. So what was happening is they thought maybe I was doing what they call structuring, which is small withdrawals under the total amount that you're allowed to withdraw. because it was abnormal for a personal account to be depositing so many checks and withdrawing so much money. And you're technically not even allowed. I didn't know it because I was young then. I didn't know you're not even allowed to use a personal checking account for business transactions. It's not necessarily like something you're going to go to prison for, but because of those checks and balances, you'll get a hiccup. And that's what happened to me. They froze my account. It took a few days until I explained to them what I was doing, and they gave me everything back. But it was kind of shocking to learn about those rules. And we're talking maybe $5,000. Like, we're not talking big numbers, and they locked my account. And
Right. I mean,
and
this is what my point is.
You know what I mean?
This is what my point is. The oversight when it comes to moving cash around and moving large amounts of money around and stuff like that it's pretty stringent. I mean, they'd be able to catch this stuff and be able to see it pretty quickly. But if you're moving it through, so say if you had 5 states, okay, so say the way that they're doing it is they source, a couple $1 million per state every, or $800,000-$900,000 per state every other day or something like that. Then maybe you can kind of weasel it around and you can get around the enough of the oversight. It's going to be different amounts, different areas, different businesses that are requesting. And if you've got this network that can just go out and request it, then, maybe that's the way it's working. The deal is to me that it's crazy because that means that these Hawala things, and from what I understand, I had a friend of mine who's very, very in tune to the Middle East. He's from the area. He grew up there, and he's an informant style guy when he worked for our intelligence groups. And he was explaining to me, he said, yeah, I mean, this sort of stuff, everyone knows this is how it works. The Hawala system, you move this money around and this is how it operates. And he said, the thing about that is that they usually get about 10%. So if you send 10 grand, then you get 9,000 on the other end and they get 10% of that. So, well, if you're moving $700 million, then each one of these little wiring companies, whatever their broker is, those things are moving massive amounts of money. And they're making massive amounts of money. You're talking $100 million businesses just sitting around in the middle of little Mogadishu and looking like sitting above a grocery mart. I mean, that's a huge business. $70 million moving like that. Now, the question would be, are those companies, the ones that are in the United States, are they actually the broker? Or is the broker really the person in Dubai? And these are just the satellites of those people? That I don't know. I mean, that's stuff I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. And, I just want to point out, and I don't know if people understand this and like why all of our bills have a serial number on them. And I didn't learn this till later on in life. But when a bank gives you money, they throw it in those, you see the big money counters that they have. So before the money even goes into the drawer, they count it with one of those counters. It records all of the serial numbers on each individual bill that's going out of their teller. And then it makes it back into the system, right? So when your money goes out of a Federal Reserve network, right? Like when you withdraw from the bank, that serial number eventually makes it back in. Why? Because you're going to spend your cash typically locally. Typically, it might end up in another reserve, right? In another part of the country. Not a lot goes out of the country. And when it does exit the country, that's why they have that rule that if you're going to take more than $10,000 with you, you have to actually, claim it, fill out some forms. So there are a bunch of rules that are supposed to actually prevent this. And
that's the deal. And that's how you know that it's a multiple state network, okay? Because the declaring of the cash, my theory on this is that they're only declaring partial. So like they're not declaring everything. They're only declaring what they're getting caught with is essentially what my theory is here. But the fact that they do have to declare it means that they should be able to trace back and source where that cash originated. Now, that's how this gets interesting, though, because if they're declaring it throughout that whole time period, right, then that should have flagged some sort of, tripwire at some point, right, that there's, these people have moved millions, essentially. But if you're moving it from multiple different states and you're moving it around constantly so that way it doesn't get flagged, maybe that's how they've been avoiding it. I mean, it has to be a reasonably sophisticated means of doing this. The logistics behind it are simply too complex for you to have just randomly did it, which is, again, the Hawala system, by the way. I don't think this is unique like Somalis. I think this is just an Arab thing. So this is not specific something that's going to come directly from the Somalis. And especially if these people have been around doing this for centuries, then this is a sophisticated network of money moving.
To be honest with you, Walter, this sounds a lot like you remember the old Nigerian prince scheme where they would take the money from here and then move it all the way over there, and nobody would ever be able to find out where the money was going to. This sounds a lot like that. It was probably used with the same sort of system.
I wouldn't be
Well,
surprised.
I wonder if they integrated people in order to get these right, like the cash. So, like, if you have a business, and you're not supposed to do this, but if you have a business, you can write a check to somebody, and then say it's for work or whatever. They can pull out cash on your behalf, right? This is like a laundering technique, and like a real low level one, and then they give you the cash rather than actually do the work for you. I'm wondering if they had people like that were actually getting the money that was hard money in a network, like in a system somewhere. Or because it can't all come from cash businesses. Like how many haircuts do you do for convenience stores and
Well, and this is
you
the
know
thing.
what I mean? Like for
And this is
700 million.
Well, and this is the thing, right? And this is part of the reason we know that the fraud exists for these Somali daycare systems. We know there's a bunch of different Somali fraud systems that are operating. Okay, we know that there is fraud in those locations. We know that already. So if we're talking about that, we're talking about that and that amount of fraud existing. And then that means that there has to be some other means of where the money is, where they're getting it. I mean, it has to go somewhere. The banks have to get it at us. They have to be able to withdraw that cash from some business. But say you've got, I don't know, 1,000 daycares. Maybe you can withdraw cash every day. I don't know. I mean, this is just, you have to be able to source the money somehow. I mean, that's the point here, and it all has to go somewhere. So, the fact that there's just Somalis wandering through the airport with duffel bags of lots of cash is kind of concerning. So let's start there. I mean, apparently, and I love this, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw this. I posted this a minute ago. There's apparently Jubba Express. They have a Jubba wiring service, which I just find hysterical. Anything that has Jubba in it, I think we just need to start there, and then we'll figure it out afterwards. I mean, I think that's
So
just
not only
initial.
do they have their own, so now that not only do they have their own daycares, they have their own airlines, their own expressway, their own
Jubba
money.
Worldwide. Jubba Worldwide, Jordan. It really is Jubba Worldwide.
Well, what kind of, I was thinking, like, what kind of businesses handle like large amounts of cash, right? And gas stations are the first one that comes to mind. And I don't know, I know a lot of transactions now are credit cards and stuff. But if you own a gas station and you go to a bank and you want to get out, $50,000, they probably wouldn't think that's not crazy for a gas station owner to need $50,000 for, changing bills and stuff. But that's why I'm worried, like, not worried, but like considering like what denominations. That's what I want to know. I want to know when they went and declared this money, what denomination were they taking out? Because were they taking out like essentially like 20s and 10s
listen,
and 5s?
And that's if they're doing that, that's the other side of this. Like, remember the numbers that I'm coming up with here, the 8 tons. That's if it's crisp, clean $100 bills. That's it. Like, we're not talking 20s, 5s, 10s. If we're talking about that, we're talking about they're sending bags of cash every hour. I mean, if they're doing it in 10s and, every haircut, they're sending out that cash, like somehow, like, I mean, that's an enormous amount of money. Enormous. Okay, Mike Smith, you have your hand up. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? Walter, I just want to say real quick, you got to be a radio host, dude. Your voice, everything about it, great. Love it. Okay. The money laundering, I kind of jumped the gun there. The millions moved, not being suspicious. Let's all be honest on what that is. It's most likely money laundering. They're these foreigners in the United States of America signing up for social programs to get funded by American taxpayer dollars to then take that money and move it out of the country. That's money laundering. That's a crime. Okay. Then we talk about, the amount per transaction, right? And I'm taking notes. So, right, the amount per transaction, to me, what that means is the amount per flight. That's what you guys were talking about, right? So the amount per flight, you're like, if they were bringing this much amount of money, it would have been all these red flags. Let's not forget where they flew out of. Right. What airport did they flew out of? They flew out of Little Mogadishu in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
this is the point I made.
PSA?
My bad, bro. No, you're good. This is the point we made yesterday. So this is the point we made yesterday, and the deal is that we know that the Somalis run TSA. They run the airport. There's 1,000 Somalis that run that airport. Correct. Okay, so this is the problem. And we know that they're pushing it through this, and we know that they're not flagging everything, obviously, because they run the airport, which is, I don't know why we ever decided that was a good idea. That's insane. But this is just another problem. But obviously, we know this is money laundering, that we know that part. But the problem we have, Mike, is we're trying to figure out how you source $1 million in physical cash per day.
I got you. All right, I'm raising my hand right now. You can't see me. My hand is up. The reason that the Somali and Muslims were able to source millions of dollars a day is because the Democrats allowed them to do so. Tim Walz, Jacob Fry, all these Democrats allowed these Muslims to purposely and they allow these Muslims to bring this money out of the country because it supports their agenda.
Well, and here's the problem here, Mike. So again, this is what we're talking about here. So even if you wanted to say that was the case, okay, even if you wanted to say Minnesota,
I mean, I think it very obviously is the case. Is that this
is
fraud
Mike?
was
Mike,
allowed
just
to
Mike.
happen.
Let me.
My bad, bro. Yeah, it's your space. You
Yeah,
go.
just stop talking for a second. Let me finish what I'm saying here. So in Minnesota, here's the problem with this. Okay, it can't just be Minnesota that's doing this. Okay, it has to be more than one state, and that's because the physical amount is simply too much. The Federal Reserve System, it's not all Democrats. It's not all Democrats. All right, I'm just going to have to mute you, dude. You got to stop interrupting me, buddy. This is a show. I know you're just on a space here, but this show is broadcast in multiple different places. You're not just on a space. So the deal is, it's not just Democrats, okay? Because $130 million of it, we know already, came from Ohio. Ohio is a red state. Okay, it doesn't have anything to do with it just being Republican or Democrat. All right, the problem is the fraud is moving from multiple different states, and the thing is they're sourcing it from all over the place and then shipping it out of Little Mogadishu because they own that airport. We know that. Okay, so the deal is, how are they getting so much physical cash? You can't just do it in one state. You can't just do it in two states because the federal system would have already caught it either way. The banks themselves would have caught it. Okay, the banks themselves run compliance reports to be able to make sure they're getting all this stuff anyway. And I actually just spent a long time. I just spent a lot of time on the phone with a guy that used to be he was in banking for many, many years. And I asked him about this. He said, look, it's almost impossible to be able to do that. You're talking 5 to 8 states would be the only way you could even be able to do that for an extended period of time without being caught. So this is the point. This is the point. It's more than one state, and they're shipping it all over the place, and then getting it to Little Mogadishu in Minneapolis airport and shipping it out. So that's the deal. And it's not just the Democrats, okay? That's what my point is here. It's not just Democrats that are doing this. This is a very sophisticated fraud ring that operates across multiple states. Now, the Democrats obviously have very little interest in enforcing anything in Minneapolis. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had the freaking Somalis running the airport. So that's a whole different problem. Okay, I need to go to a different hand here. Go ahead, Nighthawk.
Well, hold on, real quick.
No, hold on, dude, buddy.
Respond to what you just said.
I don't have time for that, buddy. Go ahead, Nighthawk.
Yeah, I have a question on this. Is it possible we can have someone kind of go undercover as like TSA agents and try to slip a GPS device on their duffel bags or whatever?
Well,
how can you call me out specifically and not allow me to respond?
Buddy, listen to me. You may be new on this show, but this is a show that I have to continue with. Go ahead, Nighthawk. I didn't call you out specifically. I'm responding to a general comment from you. Go ahead, Nighthawk.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Nighthawk, you're muted now, buddy. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. It just flipped on me. I was just going to ask, you think it's possible we can have someone go undercover and slip a GPS device to see where those duffel bags of cash are going?
Well, the deal is now they're geo-tracking it. So, I mean, they're now going to be geo-tracking
Somebody
it.
pay me for it. I'll do it. I will go to Little Mogadishu and drop in all the little surveillance cameras you want. Somebody get my flight from Florida to Little Mogadishu, pay for the equipment. I'm perfectly happy to do it. Contact me on Twitter.
Hold on a sec, Mike. Hold on a sec. So one thing, no matter what you do with this cash, eventually there's going to be somewhere that this serial number on this cash is going to show back up. So somebody knows where this money is ending up. That's one of the big problems with actually using cash, because eventually the cash gets found and that serial number is going to match to a district where they printed it and where they issued it. It can go, depending on what the network was, it could go to the exact store that the purchase was made, right? So that's one of the sophistications in the monetary system that we have that, they'll be able to actually look at and I believe they're doing it. The FBI's there. And I know this is actually would be the United States Secret Service, right? Like that's one of their games, right? Like those guys are really good at that. That's one of the things Dan Bongino actually, used to do when he was with them. That's their investigative side. So I know that I'm sure that they know kind of where it's ending up, even when it does go overseas. Eventually, the bills with that serial number show up somewhere.
Well, and
So,
that's what if you missed the open to the show, Key, Jesse Waters had somebody from Scott Bessen's group in, and they said that they stopped geo-tracking it when it got to Dubai. Why, I don't know. So now they're going to be geo-tracking it everywhere. So those should be able to actually trace and figure out where it's going at from now, which is good. I mean, we should be able to figure out where this stuff is going. But again, to me, in terms of the investigation we're working on here, the question becomes, where are you sourcing all this cash from? And we already have identified one bank, by the way. One of these banks would be in Minnesota, which is a state chartered bank called Sunrise Community Banks, which we're looking at pretty closely. We think that might be a significant source of this. And we got that from some Somali was giving an interview, and they said, well, where are you getting, what banks do you use? And he said, well, I can't disclose that. And then in a different interview, he disclosed that. So, the 70 IQ of Somalis are not the ones to keep this secret very well. They keep talking about it. So, fortunately, we have that going for us. So we'll be able to figure out where that money's going reasonably soon. The question, again, to me is how many states are involved in the ring? And that's what I think we need to figure out next, because the investigation side of this, we need to figure out where it's all going and how it's all moving.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is 50 statewide, right, Walter? But I sent you something, just a list, and I know that you know how to do research anyway, but I just pulled it up real quick on, researching it, like what the typical cash amounts are. And it's just a short list of what sort of businesses could possibly be involved that actually have kind of a justification for those sort of big numbers that might get them to that large amount of money. But now we're talking about possibly thousands of businesses involved in this.
I mean,
right?
it is.
So
And this is what my point is. This is it's a huge amount of money, and a huge amount of businesses are clearly involved in this stuff. That's kind of the point. So, we're trying to figure out how they source all the money together, how they pull it all together, how they manage to pool it. There's a couple theories going right now. One theory is that they're actually doing it through the mosques, which is actually a decent theory. They actually might be pulling it together in donations to the mosque, and then the mosques themselves are one of the ones that are shipping the money over. But I'm not really sure that's accurate, because some of the ways that some of these people are talking about it in the community, there's a few articles talking about it where they're saying that this is like one of the primary ways that they send remittances back. So if the whole community, in the only way that the whole community is sending money out is their Hawala sending the money out. That's like every Somali does a Hawala network when they're wiring their money back to Somalia. Then, you're talking every Somali in the country is doing this, which is, whatever that number is, 200,000, 300,000. So that's the reason that the numbers are so high.
I would even assume that the fraud is as rampant as it goes to Minnesota. Then even Walter, and I'm pretty sure Key, that in New York, about every single corner store and every single bodega does cash checking all the way through. And I'm talking all of Manhattan. And that's just Manhattan. If you talk about in the projects in Harlem, all these different places where there's guaranteed illegal immigrants at, I guarantee you it's much, much, much more sophisticated and much deeper than we probably even think. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, 26 Fed would probably be on this. Because specifically somewhere in fraud has to be looking at this. They might be working with the Secret Service. I don't know, but my assumption is that it does run way more rampant than we think. I think even more insane than the 750 million that we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's far more than that. I mean, again, this is just what we caught. This is kind of what my point's been the whole time, is that this is just what we caught, just what was flagged. And my point is, I think that the way that this really works is that they're only declaring what it is that they get caught with. So, if they get flagged in the airport for bringing through a duffel bag with $4 million in it, then you're like, well, what's the matter with you? What are you bringing this for? And they're like, oh, I Somali, I don't know. And then they just say, oh, well, you want to declare this? And then they sign the paperwork, and then it goes out the door. I mean, this is why I'm like, how are we allowing that? It's the craziest thing in the world to me. It's like, no one is saying, like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. It's probably not a smart decision to just, dump bags of cash onto the tarmac of Somalia. I mean, let's not do that. I don't think this is a smart decision, and I think we could probably avoid it. Okay. Illini, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Walter. First off, congrats to you, Jack Tron and Millie, for nailing this. Second off, there is some historical precedent for this. Not necessarily number one, which you found is very extremely newsworthy, but there's a foundation for you to say that this has happened in the past. I posted some resources in the Purple Pill where people can take a look at this. There was a big scandal with a savings and loan crisis and Iran Contra. There were certain banks, including BCCI, was probably one of the biggest, but there were a number of other, banks in the United States that were basically funneling money, get funds to the Contras in Nicaragua. And then at the same time that all of that was going on, Osama bin Laden, when he was, fighting against the Soviets in Afghanistan, was also getting funding from Maktab al-Qidamad. So it would not be a shocker here to see the CIA involved in some of this, and perhaps some of those bags of cash that are heading to Somalia, funding various strategy of tension operations or coup attempts that the Central Intelligence Agency wants to see happen. And that may be why the government is relatively pliable and kind of looking the other way on it. It doesn't change the fact that it's fraud. It doesn't change the fact that this is a corruption network. But maybe we can do something about this. But there's a precedent for this, and this all sounds very reasonable. And it wouldn't be a shocker for me to find out that this money is going to
Well, we already know that it's going to Al-Shabaab in some ways, okay?
Okay.
So we know
So
that.
it's going to terrorism.
We know that it's going to terrorism. We know some of the money is going to terrorism. I would not going to say all of it, but I know some of it is. We know a lot of it is. There's another part of this. We're starting to look at some of the other aspects of the fraud, right? So we're looking at a number of different ways that it's working and how it's operating. There's a specific another part of this. We're talking about the trucking industry, which is a whole nother investigation. We haven't even touched trucking yet, okay? Trucking is a whole nother part of this we need to look at. Because somebody just linked this earlier. Data Republican and I've been all over this stuff trying to figure this out. And there's a new someone who just posted a minute ago. They figured out that the Jubba Express, yes, Jubba Express, is also a trucking company as well as a money networking company. And the Jubba Express trucking company, apparently they have one owner, one operator, and one truck. What's in the truck? That's going to be my question. What's in the damn truck? Let's go check out Jubba. I think anything Jubba. Listen, anything in Jubba, all right? Any Jubba, I want you to kick the door in of every Jubba country, every single Jubba business in the country, okay? Like that we just need to start there, and we can work our way out. I think that's just a safe bet. Jubba's an international Jubba organization, apparently, Jubba Global. Okay, Nighthawk, you got your hand up. Go ahead, bud. Unless you had something, Jordan.
One person I would suggest maybe reaching out to is a guy by the name of John Guandolo. He's a former FBI guy who spent like 11 years on all about the Muslims operating around the United States. And I'm just wondering, maybe he's uncovered something over the years as he used to work for the federal government.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, there's a number of people that have done investigations and just this type of stuff, but when you're linking it directly to the fraud that we're looking at across the country, that's, I think, part of the reason that we're so focused on it right now. I don't know if I'll look into his work and see if he's got anything specific on this. He might. I mean, you never know. At this point now, it's expanding out to so much money. We're starting to wonder if they're sourcing the money. This is another theory of ours, that the amount of cash that's involved, we're wondering if it's actually, partially being sourced from cartel cash, and the cartels are funneling cash into these things, and then they're using it to wash their money by sending it overseas for them. And, that could be part of the reason that there's so much cash involved. We're not sure. But I'll tell you, it's the amount of physical dollars that makes this so interesting, and why it's so, obviously something is going on here that we need to look at a lot closer. At least we're finally starting to pay attention to it, though. I mean, apparently under the Biden administration, this was just like, everyone go ahead. Why? Well, you declare $4 million in the airport, Somali guy that can't speak English. Like, yeah, sure. You're good. Have a nice day. Go on out. Take that $4 million duffel bag with you. Be very careful with it. I mean, just what? Crazy is what it is. I do want to see. I really am curious. The guy that I was talking to from the banking industry was telling me, he's like, you got to look and see what those denominations are, what the bags of cash look like. He's like, if they're like fresh cut from the Federal Reserve, you'd be able to see those bricks of cash very easily. They're very identifiable. I actually haven't seen any real photos of this. There was some news report that I think it was on Real America's Voice where John Solomon had there, and they had this like photo up. But I think that was just a stock photo, because all of the bills in it looked like they were, from the 1990s or something. I'm not sure that was actually like seized cash or anything. I think it's just it was just used for effect on the report. So I'd really like to know what denomination some of these bills that are being transferred out in, because as far as I'm aware, the way that they're doing is that they're just throwing it in normal luggage. I mean, it's not like they're hiding it. They're putting it in normal luggage and just walking out the door with, massive bags of cash. And, apparently because they run the TSA and everything else, no one's paying any attention to it. At least it's being flagged every now and then, but not every day.
Yeah, Walter, I sent John an invite. I don't know if he'll be able to show up. He's been posting recently, but I sent him an invite. He follows me. That would be cool if he could come in and I know that his background, I didn't even think of him, so I don't know who mentioned that, but that would be cool to get his take on some of this. I wonder, I'd like to pick his brain on some of this, from somebody that has that, that sort of experience. It would be cool if he could, but I sent him an invite.
Yeah, I think it would be great. I mean, if we get someone like that in here, I mean, stuff like that would be a good addition if we can find some people that are truly experts on, how Muslims operate in the United States, stuff like that. I mean, at this point, the other part about this is it's kind of solidified yet again, even though we didn't really need to solidify it any further, that the Muslim and Islam simply are not compatible with the United States. It's just not a mental model that is compatible with Western civilization. It just isn't. They don't operate on the same playing field as us. We don't seem to have any idea why that is. Or at least, some of us don't. A lot of us have known what you do. Islam has been something that the Western world knew how to deal with about 50 to 60 years ago. And somehow we've forgotten about it already. And now we let them run, New York City. So, whatever. Apparently we're not very intelligent when we're dealing with this stuff properly. But I don't know. We'll figure out if we can see where this money's actually being sourced, because that's going to be the number one thing to me. Once we figure out where the money's actually sourced from, then that'll make a big difference, because then we can shut it off. And to me, I don't know why we're even allowing, completely zero oversight bags of cash to leave our shores. That's nuts. I mean, let's just stop that entirely. I mean, I just imagine, can you imagine if you tried to do that? Like, if you tried to take $1 million in cash out of the United States, they'd ask you 1,000 questions. I mean, but two Somalis that barely speak any English at all, they just let them wander right through the airport. Like, oh yeah, keep track of that. Don't lose it. Like, what the?
Well, you got a good point. So I was looking to see if anyone else ever said this, because I didn't want to get in trouble having, been a TSA officer at one point, right? Like, I didn't know if this was publicly known, but it is. Like, people talk about this. It's very widely known, but in order to even bring that much cash on a plane, right? Like, it's going to be found out. Like, there's even if you have the dumbest people at TSA, it's, because the way that it works when you go through their network there, they're going to know what's in the bag, and they're definitely going to, I've seen these large amounts of cash myself, right? Like, what you're looking at when you see cash in a bag. It looks,
of course,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
like,
there's no way you can. That's what my point is. It's not like you just like, oh, what's that? I don't know what that is. That's a strange brick that says Benjamin Franklin on it. Like, I mean, and I don't think so. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone is aware what's in the bag. All right. Like, I mean, it's anytime that goes through, it's like, oh yeah, that's real conspicuous. Just brick of cash in the middle of the suitcase. Like, okay, but like, come on now. Like, everyone is aware of what's in these bags. And there's no miss in that.
It's mandatory essentially to look at it, depending on how big it is. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's mandatory to confirm it. And that's actually one of the experiences I had with actually learning about why you have to claim it, because if it's more than $10,000, it's no longer our job. So I know a lot of people think that is the TSA, but it's not. That's local law enforcement. They have to have some forms. Our supervisors get involved, and it's CBP, right? So if you're going out of country or whatever. But yeah, so internally though, what I was always told was there are no restrictions for how much you can fly with internally, even though it might raise like suspicions, and you have to get a supervisor involved. But yeah, so that's kind of interesting. But there are other people that have talked about this exact topic in the past. So there's a lot of information on it. Other people have done it before. One of the complaints I seen was somebody was they won at the casino. They won money at the casino, and then they were coming back to their house, and they spent like 3 hours, hung up at TSA, because they were like, where'd you get all this cash at? Because that's actually how concerning it is when you have like a large amount of cash. This guy that was saying he got stopped at TSA had 150,000 in crisp hundreds, which it's very small actually. It's very small. So like, you can get a few $1 million into a
well, I mean,
carry-on,
listen, all you have to think about it in weight. Okay, so a dollar bill is a gram. Okay, So if you want to get $1 million out, you need essentially 10 kilos. That's what you need. 10 kilos, which is 22 pounds. That's a duffel bag. It's not a big bag, guys. It's not like it's crazy. But from what I was reading, it looks like some of these things, it was like, yeah, they were carrying through $3 to $6 million. Like, what? Like, again, nuts. It's crazy to me. Okay, guys, make sure you guys share the link out. This is the Political Theater. I'm Walter Kurt. I got Jordan Daly up here as my co-host, Keymaker, and I got a couple other of the regulars on the show. Make sure you guys share the link out of this show. If you guys are joining us on YouTube or if you're joining us on Rumble, Substack, wherever you're at, if you want to call into the show, the only way you can call into the show is you got to go to x.com, go to @WCDispatch, and you can join the show and chime in yourself and ask questions, or you can come up here and say whatever you want. You can argue with me. If you're annoying, I will throw you out of here. That's how that works. So anyway, guys, make sure you guys share the link out. Put the comments down below. I do read the comments throughout the show, guys. So if you guys have anything interesting to say, you're more than welcome to put it down below, and I will read it out on the show, especially if it's like really, really insulting. Like that's what I'm looking for. That's the kind of material that I really want. So make sure if you have something that's just absolutely vile and horrific, put it down in the comments so I can read that. Okay, we got one person that's coming up here to join the show. I don't know what their name was. I tried to just join them, Jordan. I don't know who they were, but whenever they join the show, they're more than welcome to chime in. But again, guys, this has been the investigation we've been on for a few weeks now. As we're continuing this, we're actually starting to get some action, by the way. I'm not going to exactly explain some of the stuff that I'm getting behind the scenes on this, but we are actually seeing some movement from the feds on this investigation, which is good news for us, which means we're on the right track. And I think everybody, once you kind of realize like the physical reality of it, you can't really avoid the fact that this is something that needs to be looked at. I mean, just the fact that a group of people are just shipping out pallets of cash from a single airport without anybody noticing it or paying attention to it, I think everyone's starting to realize we can't allow that to happen. Okay, we had some new guy join up in the shades. What's up, buddy? No? Maybe not? I can't see this. This stupid space doesn't work for me, guys. So, Jordan, is the new person that I just added, they get added to the show? I can't even see him.
It looks like they're having a connection issue. It's up there, but he's not actually fully connected.
Okay. Well, we'll see here. Wait, nope. Looks like now they got him up here. What's up here, Mahudulin Boshang? What's up, buddy?
Hello, guys. How are you doing, guys?
What's up, dude?
He's one of the guys.
It's your boy, Walt, remember? Go ahead. Tell us what you want. Come on.
Do you own a daycare?
I'm from Gambia, Smiling Coast, Africa.
And that's it for that. All right, thanks. I just, every now and then when we start talking about this, somehow we always manage to get at least one of the people that like we're talking about just happen to join the show, and this happens every now and then. But no, if you come up, like, I don't know, if you join the show and your first comment to me is, "Hey, how are you? I'm from Zambia." Like, cool. How many daycares do you own? That's my only question. Because apparently everybody that lives in anywhere in somewhere in East Africa happens to own a daycare in the United States, including the UN Security Council head, which is just the craziest story that has ever happened in the history of all things. The fact that he owns a daycare and owns a Medicaid system and has been sued for Medicaid fraud in the United States and is now the head of the UN Security Council. It is comedy beyond all belief. Truly it is. Okay, but anybody else who wants to join the show, if you're not from Zambia, you're more than welcome to come up here and join the show and talk. If you have anything to say, you can always come up here. There were some other stories that I think we could go over for the day. There was a couple of interesting things that happened yesterday and today. Looks like Trump is actually moving forward with a new healthcare plan. Did you guys read about this yet? I haven't actually read into the whole details of it. The great healthcare plan. Oh, I also have a very funny bit of information here. I figured this out today. So you guys remember the Institute for Peace, the U.S. Institute for Peace? This was the organization that at some point they had to raid the building. Like the guy was like locked upstairs in the building, and he had they were like shredding everything. Do you guys remember this group? So I found out today. Yeah. So I found this out today. Did you know that it was renamed? It's not the U.S. Institute for Peace anymore. It's now the Trump Institute for Peace. Isn't that just fantastic? I love that the moment I found that out.
He's giving them the tip.
That's right, the tip.
The
tip. Just the tip. I just thought that was hysterical that it's the Trump Institute for Peace. That just made me very happy. So I thought that was very funny. I found that out earlier today.
That one was one of my favorites because it was like the Institute for Peace, and then I think the report said that they had automatic weapons and white noise machines.
Yeah, dude, it was like the guy, like the president was like locked in his office with a white noise machine shredding papers with guns. I was like, what? That was the craziest story. I mean, they had like disabled the elevators and everything too. It was like, what is going on at the Institute for Peace? But now it's not the Institute for Peace anymore. It's the Trump Institute for Peace, which I just find absolutely hysterical. Cassandra, you came up here, put your hand up. What's happening?
What's up, Walter? I do not own a daycare. I do live in Minnesota, although, you know, I just want to make a couple points. First and foremost, thank you so much. I mean, you're doing just incredible work.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you bringing this out to the front. Put a post in the bubble, if everybody can share that. I did tag Walter on it. I went in and, you know, I'm just loving Grok. It's just, yeah, I can go to Grok and it's not filtering me, which I always appreciate, but it straight out let me know exactly how they did it. So if you guys want to tag Walter in that, please do share that. Couple of things. I'm not going to dox myself, but I do live in the most wealthy per capita here near Minneapolis out on a lake. During the last 2 to 3 summers, we have seen a massive increase of the Somali. And, you know, I always have to ask my clients when they kind of get upset when I have this conversation is you will see them here and there working at Marshall's or TJ Maxx, etc. But the ladies are wearing eyelash extensions. They're driving close to the pool of money of a Maserati. I mean, the money that filtrates out here on the lake. And, you know, they'll be eating out, having really fine wine with their children at 11 o'clock at night out at the restaurants. And so I always have to ask my clients, where do you see them working? Where do you see them contributing to the per capita in Minnesota? They're not. Tomorrow, we're going to see a rally in Minneapolis where you now have the far right coming out to battle the far left and or the paid individuals camping out with their fires tonight. It could get pretty messy tomorrow, so keep an eye on Minnesota tomorrow. And then we have this massive explosion here in Minnesota today, which I'm going to be following. It's Willow River. So, you know, what is this? What's on the streamline of this this direction of whatever's happening there? It's going to be interesting to see if it was on purpose or if it was by accident. And any kind of explosion, I'm always kind of curious what's going on there. So just wanted to thank you for your work and just here to listen and thank you, and just added a couple pieces in there. So that's all. Thanks.
Well, I appreciate that, Cassandra. Thank you for coming up here. I appreciate everybody who comes in and listens to the show. You know, if you guys, the best way you can go to this show to help me out, guys, this show is run completely independently. Go to wcdispatch.com and you can subscribe there. That's the best way to do it. That's the best way you can help me out. If you like this show, if you want to support me, you can always subscribe on X as well. I have subscriptions available, but X.com is, you know, one of the places that you can support. But going to wcdispatch.com is the best. And I always thank anybody who comes up here for the show. Yeah, I do think that Minneapolis is in a complete disaster zone. You know, that's the one thing right now that it's just kind of going crazy. You know, watching this happen. I keep wondering if Trump's going to actually have to do the Insurrection Act. You know, at this point, how long do you let just complete lawlessness go? That's the real question I have. The one worry is that I know that they kind of want the Insurrection Act. This kind of plays into their narrative, which is why I don't like the idea of it. But at the same time, I don't know how long you allow it. That's the thing that I keep thinking about. And by the way, I want to make sure I welcome my co-host to the show here. Chris Marino just joined the show, guys. What's up, Chris? How are you, buddy?
Hey, man. Just got done taking care of some kid stuff and wanted to hop on the show real quick.
Well, good to see you, buddy. Yeah, we're in the middle of just talking about Minneapolis in general. We went through the Hawala network, and we were talking about that for a while. So that's where we're at in this discussion. So we got a couple hands up right now on the show. Yes, go ahead.
Repeat after me. Minneapolis.
Minneapolis?
There you go.
Little Mogadishu. How's that? Okay,
Mogadishu.
that's the reality. Yeah,
exactly. That's what you call Little Mogadishu.
This is great because Cassandra just reminds me. I have friends in Minneapolis and in Minnesota. These are some of the nicest people actually in this country, and I think that's why this area was selected, was to abuse them for their generosity and their kindness.
I thought it was because they were Vikings fans. That was what I thought the reason was.
Well,
You know,
Sorry,
it was
I had to get that shot in there. Sorry, you know, at one point the Vikings took Kirk Cousins from the Redskins, and I was very mad at them for that. So I had to put that in there.
They should have never got rid of Kirk Cousins, to be honest with you.
Really well. But I wanted to say one last thing. You know, I think it's very clear that Trump is letting them destroy themselves. And, you know, he's going to let them take every last jab at this point. And I think once we start seeing more of these different cities pop off, if we do, he may step in, but he's letting them burn it down, you know. And so Minneapolis is already a shit show. You've got a lot of these police officers are stepping off. I've got 2 clients as police officers. They never felt supported, very depressed in their job. And
you know, I heard something pretty interesting actually about that. I heard that there is a significant amount of Minneapolis Police Department officers who are leaving, but then they're joining ICE. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I heard that there's like 60 or 70 of them that are trying to join ICE, which I thought was awesome. That's cool.
There was a migration, well, because I used to live in South Dakota, there was a migration of officers in 2020, you know, like after the riots from Minneapolis into that area.
That's interesting. Well, so Cassandra, did you say that's true that they're joining ICE?
I don't have that as a fact, but I've seen many, many reports around it. I do have one police officer that I do reach out to, and they're just hands off. They all are hands off. They don't want anything to do with it. You've got the surrounding cities. They don't want to walk into this. And
well,
so
that'd be something else if they're joining ICE. I think that would be hysterical. I saw a post talking about it, but I mean, I didn't really look into it because I've been too busy to be able to really dig into something like that. But if that's true, that's hysterical.
A $50,000 sign-on bonus doesn't hurt.
Well, right. I mean, I loved the videos. I've seen a couple of really funny videos of like one of the ICE officers, and there's someone screaming at him, and he's like, you know, I love this job. I do it for free. And she's like, wow, well, how do you feel about yourself? He said, well, I make $200,000 a year. She said, I make that much money. He said, yeah, but I have a high school degree. It's like, these guys are great. I think they're hysterical. I loved it earlier there. I saw this video of them driving in a traffic circle. So the ICE officers are driving in a traffic circle, and they're just playing the ice cream music song, like the ice cream truck song. And these leftists are following them around as they're just driving in the traffic circle, and they just drove around it for 20 times or something. And they're just screwing with them. You know, I was actually thinking about going up to Minneapolis. And Chris, I mean, maybe you can get you involved in this. We can go up to Minneapolis, and I want to get a truck, and I want to get a blacked out SUV, and I want to write on the side of it with magnetic letters or something, not ICE, but I want to spell it notice. So there's no space in between it. So if they pull me over, they say, what are you doing? You're obviously ICE. It's like, well, but look, I just wanted you to notice me. I think that's what I wanted. Like, I want to see if this works. I think it would actually be effective. These people are morons. I mean, I've seen some of these videos of them like pulling over random dads. They're like, what are you guys? What are you doing? Are you ICE? You're acting a whole lot like ICE. There's some great post I saw, someone that had like press written on the back of their car. And they said, we followed you around for an hour because you were acting like ICE. Like, oh my God. Can you imagine what would happen if we actually got rid of our police force? That is what awaits you. That's what awaits you. Morons driving around in their cars asking you questions and demanding answers from you. That's what results if you get rid of the police force in this country. That's what's going to end up happening. And I'm not looking forward to that. I'm so glad I don't live in a communist state like Minnesota. My goodness.
One of the craziest experiences that I've ever had in an Airbnb was in Minneapolis. It was on the other side of the bridge of Little Mogadishu. And I was just actually talking to my father about this the other day. It was just the craziest experience. This is where the Walgreens, everything, and I mean from toilet paper to toothbrush to whatever in Walgreens is behind a locked case. A security guard, you have to stop at the front door, and a security guard walks you through Walmart to do your shopping for you. I mean, like, this is the craziest thing. And he literally said to me, you're not from here. And I said, no, I'm here to do some claims. And he was like, I recommend that you go to another part of the city. I mean, that was like literally his words. And
this is the kind of stuff, like when I see those videos of like San Francisco and stuff like that, and you see these people wandering through like Walgreens, it's like the toothbrush is locked up. Like, what? I mean, just, you know, it's a 2-cent toothbrush. I mean, the most it can possibly cost you is $3, and they've got it under lock and key because of how bad it is. I cannot imagine living like that. I don't even think about that sort of stuff. You know, I can wander into any store in this area and it just pick stuff up like normal. Like, it's just crazy to me that people live like this and then somehow vote for the same people that continue it. Makes no sense to me, no whatsoever. Okay, I want to welcome Priya Patel to the show. What's up, Priya? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you guys tonight?
Doing just fine. We're talking about Little Mogadishu and the amount of money going through the Hawala networks.
I've noticed. Just one quick note on that video that you were referencing just a couple minutes ago on the guy that had the black SUV, and of course ICE protesters are out there demanding for him to prove that he's not a federal agent. And it's like, actually, you know what? Nobody is actually obligated to prove that they are or aren't a federal agent, and especially federal agents are not obligated to have you pull them over and prove that they're prove who they are. That's just so ridiculous to me.
Oh yeah, it was nuts to me. And to me, watching that video, I was like, this guy's such a pansy. Like, if you pulled me over and you did that, I would sit there and I would just sit there and intentionally screw with them. Like, oh no, I might be. You don't know.
100%. I mean, that was like the most low testosterone response that I could have possibly imagined. Just him being like, I'm being nice. I don't have to do this, but I'm being nice by proving to you that I, have a right to be here and I'm not a Fed.
Yes.
Like, well, Feds have a right to be here anyways, but this is just really, like, this is such a stupid interaction. I just don't understand.
It was like I lost testosterone watching it. I really did. I mean, it was upsetting to me just watching this guy. I mean, because he was like, I was out here yesterday with you guys. Why are you mad at me? Like, oh my Lord, dude, don't you get it? The mob hates you now. Like, you've been selected. Get over it. I mean, it's amazing.
They hate middle-aged white men. That's that's their least favorite demographic, and they just automatically assume that they're all Feds.
Yes. Well, I mean, this is why, again, to me, I want to go get a truck. I want to go get a blacked out SUV. And I'm going to put notice on the side of it just to drive it around. And every time they pull me over, I'm saying, well, thank you for noticing me. But this is what I want to do, because they're so stupid. These people are idiots. Like, they're driving. Like, I love that they've got like a whole dispatch system. Like, what on earth are these morons doing? This is what happens when you actually abandon law enforcement. You're resulted with snot-nosed 20-year-old leftist with nose rings getting out of their cars demanding questions of you. And like, oh my God. Oh my Lord, I can't believe this is happening.
The fact that these people are out there day after day kind of proves that they're being paid by somebody to go out there and protest, because I mean, especially in this economy, who has the time to abandon their jobs for multiple days on end to go stand in the streets and harass federal agents?
Yes, very much so. I mean, yesterday, for those who didn't watch the live video version of the show yesterday, we actually figured out a couple of our funding sources for this stuff, because we figured out essentially that there's the Hopewell Fund, which is a big leftist NGO that's funded by all of our favorites, Soros, all of every top line, NGO that you can think of, philanthropic, Rockefeller, Carnegie, all of them, they all fund this group. Well, it's directly linked to the anti-ICE protests. And the question I guess I don't understand here is, why are we letting all these stupid NGOs operate with tax-exempt status? It does not make any sense to me. Like, this is the closest I've ever seen, by the way. This is why it stood out to me. The Hopewell Fund is funding a group called States at the Core, and States at the Core is directly involved in the anti-ICE protests. That's the closest link I've ever seen. Usually they go through like 3 or 4 layers before they get somewhere, but this one's like, it's like one step away, and they're funding this group that's doing this. How on earth is that a tax-exempt NGO that's a 501c3? I mean, you're funding obstruction of federal officers. Take their tax-exempt status. I don't understand how we allow this in the first place. I mean, this place has Mark Elias as their chief legal advisor. I mean, they paid him. They paid Elias's law firm like $10 million last year. I mean, this is the stuff I'm like, why are we allowing this? I do not understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No, that's exactly right.
Where is this happening in Minneapolis, by the way? Is it in Little Mogadishu, or is it on the north side of Minneapolis? Does anybody know?
What are you talking about?
Where this is happening? Like, not just like, I obviously know where the Somali stuff's happening, but where some of these protests and stuff are happening, where we just saw like the Venezuelan train de agua guy.
I don't know. I'm not sure exactly where exactly in this it's all happening. That I don't know. I do know that I saw Ilhan Omar come out today and say that she hasn't seen any ICE arrest anybody that was actually a criminal, illegal alien, or like actually a criminal. And I just was very confused by that, because if that's the case, then who were the 2 Venezuelans beating ICE with a shovel yesterday? Are those guys not criminals? Like, I guess I'm a little bit confused on that. I mean, someone's gonna have to explain that one to me.
Well, here's the thing: is last year under Biden, they averaged, it was like 1,500 or 1,300 something like that in the state of Minnesota, illegal immigrants were deported or ICE detained, like that amount of people, right? Under this administration, it's obviously more, but it's not a significant amount more. You're talking about like 1,900 people so far. And some of these people are horrible people. And so where was ICE then? Where was the tracking of ICE agents back then? They didn't exist. Why didn't they exist? Because we know why, right? And so so the reality is the politics of this is just disgusting. And I can't wait for people to be held accountable on it.
Chris, what this really is, and I've said this a couple times now, this anti-ICE stuff is just defund the police 2.0. That's all it is. It's the same thing. They're doing the same exact statements. It's the same language. It's the same people. They're saying the exact same stuff. You can go read Andy No's book on Antifa from the 2020 riots. They're using the same talking points. There's no difference. The only difference now is that it's ICE instead of just regular police. I mean, it's the same stuff. They're the Gestapo. They're kidnapping people off the streets in unmarked vehicles. I mean, it's all the same stuff. I mean, this is, again, to me, this is why I keep looking at this, and I don't think that Americans generally, I would love to see what the polling is on these people that are attacking ICE officers. I guarantee you it's low as hell. I don't think there's anybody that agrees with it.
It's backfiring on them. In fact, David Plouffe, Obama's speechwriter, right, who is by no means a moderate, has said that this is potentially, I think the quote was, this is potentially worse than defund the police. And that he was urging, he wrote an op-ed, and he's urging the Democratic Party to abandon the strategy and focus different in the midterms, because he's saying this could blow up in their face. Like, people don't like seeing riots. They don't like seeing attacks on federal officers. They definitely don't like seeing FBI, federal agents' vehicles getting broken into, and arrest warrants.
Listen, the thing that people can't stand is they can't stand seeing lawlessness in the streets with no consequences. That's what drives people crazy. I mean, I just said, watching this stuff going on up in Minneapolis, you see them spray painting cars, they're breaking open, they're ripping down fences. Arrest these people. What are we doing? I mean, this just drives me nuts watching it. And I know that it bothers a lot of people. I know it's not just me that gets upset about it, because it's just, to me, I just see this, I'm like, they already burned the whole country down during 2020. Are we going to let them do it again? Because it's January, people. What do you think this is going to be like if we don't get a handle on this before we get into the summer when it's warm out? It's going to be way worse. It'll be way, 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 way worse. It's going to be a disaster zone. They're going to do it in every major city, and it's going to go for months. This is what we can't have. We can't deal with this again. We can't let them burn half the country down because they're mad again. And I don't know if Trump has to do the Insurrection Act or not. At this point, how do you let them just continuously destroy their own cities? I just don't understand. I mean, that's the deal to me is, at some point you have to restore law and order for the citizens of the city. I mean, the normal citizens of the city, you think they're happy that half their freaking city is on fire all the time? I don't think they like that. Something tells me that they don't like it. In fact, I remember reading and watching there's a great documentary on the 2020 stuff called The Fall of Minneapolis. If you guys have never seen that, you need to go watch it. And it talks to some of the citizens that they just abandoned that precinct. They just let it happen. It was like the purge. They just let absolute lawlessness go wild for months. And, and then there was the whole Chaz incidents over in Washington. And like, what the heck? What are we doing? Restore order. That needs to be necessary. Okay, we got a ton of hands on the show here. Okay, so let's go here with Choose Liberty. Then I'm going to go to Illini, and then I'm going to go to Henry.
Hey, Walter, Jordan, Priya. The ICE thing's really interesting because we're getting a lot of comedy out of it. And this is one of those stories. I don't know if you guys saw this or not. This was yesterday, about 24 hours ago. I posted it in the Purple Pill, but this is I don't know if it's Minneapolis or Minnesota Star Tribune. The title of the article is ICE agents eat at a small town Mexican restaurant, then arrest workers. So 4 hours later, they came back and picked up 3 people from the same restaurant they just ate at. That is what I voted for.
That's
this
hilarious.
Is one of the things you guys got to remember. Anybody who's doing a job that is here illegally is stealing a job from you and me, the American citizen. They're stealing it from us because that's stuff that we could be doing, whether it's working in the kitchen or retail or anything even higher than that, or farm work even. We can't allow that. And for those people that say, you know what, Americans don't want to do these types of jobs. We don't want to go pick, carrots in the field. Well, you know what? Those types of jobs are perfect for kids who don't have any experience. I had a high school job. You had a high school job, Walter. We all have our first job where it's really crappy and it's boring and it's really mundane, but we all do it so we get experience.
Right.
So,
well, I mean,
yeah,
this
saw that
this is
story.
something that I've talked about before. There's something that exists out here in the Midwest. I didn't notice it as much when I lived on the East Coast, but in the Midwest specifically, when I moved down here, I noticed that all the people that work in the jobs that used to be like teenagers, like, fast food restaurants. Fast food restaurants used to be all teenagers. It was, 17, 18-year-olds, and then there's one manager or whatnot. Not out here. Out here, there's no jobs because all the jobs are eaten up by other things. And they shipped all the manufacturing out of the Midwest to China. I mean, the people that work in the fast food industry are like in their mid 40s. They're like, 40-year-old women and 40-year-old dudes. Those are the people that staff these freaking, the fast food industry around here. And I don't think that's a good thing. I mean, I think they'd probably want better jobs than that. And, if you're soaking up any of the jobs around the area, which is what drove me nuts about the Haitian dumping 30,000 Haitians in my city, because during Trump 1.0, they built factories all around Ohio. Okay, there was a bunch of factories that opened up. And then what happened after they finished them roughly right around the end of Trump's first term. And then Biden comes in and he staffs all of those factories with Haitians. I'll tell you right now, that pissed people off out here more than anything else. That sort of stuff just got to stop. We got to end that immediately. But anyway, okay, I appreciate that, Choose Liberty. And let's go on to, go ahead, Priya. You got your hand up, your co-host.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that's exactly correct. And guess what? When we flood all of these workforces that, yeah, would be perfect jobs for, teenagers or kids just out of high school or going into college. Well, guess what? Them and also their parents aren't going to want them to work with a bunch of immigrants they have nothing in common with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, the Rittal, there's a company out here called Rittal that's like a machine shop type place. And I know some of the guys that work there, and they said when the Haitians, they brought them in, it's just a disaster. I mean, they made it so much more difficult to work there. A bunch of people I know quit because of it. Okay, let's go here. Go ahead, Illini.
Hey, two things. First off, you mentioned the Rockefeller Foundation earlier. They were the Rockefeller brothers and also their lawyers, who were the Dulles brothers of Sullivan and Cromwell before they got to the CIA, were involved in the 1948 Italian election rigging, as well as Operation Gladio, which was designed to keep Italy and NATO, in the 40s through the 80s. So the Rockefellers have a long history, specifically with strategy of tension. The second thing is that, before we start talking about the Insurrection Act, there's another piece of law where we don't have to suspend habeas corpus here. A RICO freeze hearing might be able to at least stop the paid protesters and shut down the financial network, and that might be enough to help get things back under control. And I hope that anybody.
Listen to me. This is, to me, the number one thing that I've said for months at this point is cut off their money. If you want to stop this stuff, shut the damn money off. If you want to deal with this, you got people that are being paid large sums of money to go out here and do this stuff. You think all of these people, there's a great video that Sorter just put out yesterday. He found some car that was just packed to the brim with umbrellas. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about, okay? When I was in Portland, every single one of these people out on the streets all had the same gas mask. They all had the same helmets. They had these same shirts. They had the same pants. They had the same boots. They are all given this stuff. Shut it off. Shut the damn money off.
So Walter,
you want to fix these problems,
Walter,
cut the money.
The DOJ can go in front of just about any federal judge, I think, and basically start, presenting their evidence. The legal standard is just preponderance of the evidence. If you can find an honest judge and you can lay out all the facts, you can freeze the network's funding. And if Arabella Advisors is involved, it's going to screw up the 2026 election. For the Democrats, they're going to cry uncle. They're going to complain about it. And then our side's just going to go around with, our mugshot of Donald Trump and basically say, you guys are just whining about, something that's like 1/10 as bad as what happened in 2024. So
but listen, the funding that needs,
strategy.
I don't understand why we haven't changed the tax exempt status of a bunch of these places. Again, to me, your 501c3s, they shouldn't be donating and doing political action with their 501c3s, but they do. They do them all the time. Like if you go look at this group that I was talking about just a minute, the Hopewell Fund, go look at the organizations that it funds. There's not a single right-wing organization in there. It's like Trans Lifeline and Abortions for Everybody. And it's literally the most leftist organization you can think of. And of course, it's a 501c3. Why do we allow that? Take their tax-exempt status today. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And it blows my mind that we're still dealing with this, even though we know it's happening. I mean, we know it. We know it's happening. Why aren't we shutting it off? I don't know. Okay, I got to.
And they're not even. And Walter, they're not even hiding it. You go to the X feed right now of the Sunrise Movement, another 501c3 tax organization calling people who support Donald Trump Nazis, calling the ICE agents Gestapo, saying all of these things. Like, they aren't hiding anything. They have actually been very clear about their intentions, and that's why they should not be having a 501c3 status.
Yeah, I mean, the Sunrise Movement's one of the worst ones out there. I mean, that's the work that Millie Weaver did years ago at this point, proving that organization is involved in all that stuff. So we really do need to shut that off. Okay, let's go here. Mike Honcho, go ahead.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for the mic. I just want to share some information with the listeners here on ICE and DHS. First of all, the catalyst and the precursor for this was 9/11. So DHS was established in 2003, right after the Patriot Act, which was pushed right after 9/11. All the information, we don't have to go on about 9/11, but Israel is overwhelmingly linked to the events of 9/11.
Listen, I don't know. This is completely unrelated to what we're talking about here.
No. It is related.
No, it's absolutely unrelated, because here's the deal, man. If you're focused on Israel right now while our streets are being overthrown by Marxists in our own country, like, you need to put your head in cold water and get a grip. Okay, this is the reality. We can have a conversation about the Patriot Act and Israel's role, or whoever's role in whatever, before most of the people on X were even born. Like, we can have that conversation. But the reality is, right now is not the time. And if that's your conversation and that's your focus, then your focus is misplaced. It has no place right now in this conversation. That's not the topic.
It's not. I was just trying to give.
No, what you're trying to do is insert an anti-Israeli spin here.
Hey, listen, again, guys, I don't care about anti-Israel anything. To me, the point is, I'm on topic, okay? Topic is ICE. ICE protest, Minneapolis, leftist funding organizations. What that has to do with the Patriot Act and DHS, that has nothing to do with any of those things. So again, if you're on topic, you can continue.
Okay, sure. Well, we are talking about ICE. ICE is DHS. So
again, what does that have to do with any the history of how ICE was formed and how DHS was formed is completely different. Continue.
Okay, so you remember Afghanistan, the whole withdrawal?
Yes.
Use this one example. Okay, remember how we brought like 72,000 refugees here?
Yes.
Okay, who helped them? These non-government organizations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, the NGO system that has been everywhere. The NGO network is constant.
So let me name the two that were most involved with DHS: the IRC, International Rescue Committee, and Refugees International. These are both Jewish involvement in international refugee aid is historically centered around HIAS, which is the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society.
So I'm just going to have to stop you because you continuously bringing in this narrative for no reason. Let me tell you, the amount of NGOs that brought over people from other countries is not limited to just 2 or 3, and they're not directly involved with the DHS. They're all of them involved. Okay, every NGO that you can think of was involved in this sort of stuff, including Catholic Charities, by the way. Catholic Charities were a huge portion of this. So, again, I don't really have the time for the argument on this. We're going to keep moving on here.
Well,
Go ahead, Priya.
Talking about, why are you deflecting from the fact that we're talking
I just don't have time for you, Mike. And listen, buddy, you're off topic and you're talking about stuff that I don't care about, and this is why I just have to remove you. You want to talk about stuff that doesn't matter, it's off topic, and you want to try and change the subject. We're not changing the subject. We're going to keep on topic. Okay, go ahead, Priya. Muted, Priya. Oh, maybe no Priya. Okay, go ahead, Cassandra.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop down so that other people can come up. Something I just wanted to note is, we have to remember that there could possibly still be sleeper cells in these different states. And one of the things that I think we need to be aware of is one of the tactics is to completely wear down our resources. So time, money, and resources. So one of the things, Walter, you're on the road, you're traveling a lot, you know how you get fatigued. Well, imagine these guys trying to rest. They're constantly be obliterated, just trying to even get to sleep at night. So, one of the tactics is to wear out all of our resources and then kind of come in and on the side. So something that we need to be aware of is, are there still sleeper cells? Where are they? I have heard from different people out here that they are possibly in the suburbs.
You know what?
The other thing going,
this kind of reminds me of something, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but you reminded me of something. What happened with the guy that ran through the Iranian protest in L.A.? That story went up and out the door faster than any other story I've ever seen. What happened with that?
Sure did. Sure did.
No one talks about like, oh yeah, this dude literally ran through the middle of a protest. What happened? What I mean, like, do we have any other details on that story? Like that thing
with
that
the random guy on top of the U-Haul
on the side of it. MEK. Everybody was freaking out about it. Supposedly it has something to do with Iran, like a I don't know.
It was an anti-regime protest, and the dude like ran through the crowd. So what happened with that? Like that story was gone. Like that was the fastest deleted story in recent history. What happened with that? Anybody know?
Jordan, to be honest, I didn't know. I was gonna say I haven't heard a thing about it. I saw the video, I saw the news article, and then it was out of the news cycle before you could even say Iran or war or anything.
Like seriously,
had nothing to say about it.
Like seriously, that was like the fastest.
Sloppy seconds news. That's what that is called. One thing on to the next. And then the last thing I was going to say, Walter, going back to the restaurants, we've got 2 restaurants out here in Minnetonka where I'm at have shut down. So think about the tertiary effects. And you've got all these, I think there's been over 7 different Chinese restaurants that have shut down because they're scared to go to work, right? So, they're kind of raising their hands all over the place as far as what's going on. So just 2 things I wanted to add there at the end. Just again, Walter, thank you. Be praying for these men that are out there. Fuck, the last thing I would want to be doing. We need to keep our resources strong. They're going to wear us out here, and then just keep everybody in your prayers. I'm out. Thanks so much.
So I just wanted to look and see if there's any more details on this story, like the Iran, random dude who drives through a protest. Nothing. 4 days ago, the initial story, that's it. That's interesting. That's nothing else, no details, that story got memory hold faster than anything else this week. That is something else. I didn't even think about that until you mentioned that. Cassandra mentioned that. That's pretty funny. So I guess we're not going to find out what happened there because that's not supposed to be talked about, apparently. So we'll see. Okay, we got a couple other people that are joining the show. Go ahead, Key.
Walter, so it was weird, right? So the video that I seen was the truck smashing into people, and then somebody was on the roof of the vehicle. But the way that I understand the story is that he wasn't attempting to actually smash through the crowd of people, but because he was driving the truck with a sign that was pro a different Iranian organization than they were out there and affiliated with, I guess, they decided they were going to bang on the vehicle. And then that's when he took off in the truck and caused all of the ruckus, and then all the other stuff happened. That's like kind of the timeline that I was reading, and nobody got hurt from what I understand. Like nobody was injured, nobody was ran over. I could be wrong about that, but it did disappear rather rapidly. But it was they said that it was a MEK slogan, which is like some sort of Iranian organization that actually is in the United States that lobbies Congress or something like that. So it is weird that it just disappeared.
Well, I mean, for those who don't know, at some point a while back, I was actually, I happened to be in D.C. for something, and I ran across one of these like pro-Iranian regime story, like one of these pro-Iranian regime protests or something like that. And it was the damnedest thing I'd ever been to because, you're walking around. I'm in front of the White House, by the way. That's where this protest was. It was literally directly in front of the White House. And there was zero news coverage. Like none. There was not a single reporter there. It was very strange. Very, very odd that there was no reporters whatsoever at this location. I've never seen that before. I don't know why. But it was just, you think when there's a protest in front of the White House that usually there's like genuine news coverage of it, but there wasn't. So I don't know if it's something to do with they just don't want to give any coverage to the pro-Iranian people or something. I really don't know. But I did just find that very strange. And the fact that it looked like the same sort of people that were at this one in LA. So I don't know what ended up happening with that, but it's just very odd to me that it's yet another story like that was very limited news coverage. And then after the guy gets arrested, then no one else talks about it. So I don't know. Okay, we brought up a couple other people here. So what's up, Dwayne Williamson?
Yeah, I was just going to expand on that. Jay actually did a show on that on Secret America.
Oh, that's cool.
Basically what you just said. That was it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I just didn't know. I just thought it was very odd that there was no coverage of it whatsoever. Okay, we got another person.
It wasn't on mainstream at all.
Yeah, it's just like, just got deleted from story. Okay, apparently we brought up Hitler. What's up, Hitler?
Hey, what's up, guys? I think Jordan dropped down. I wanted to say hi to him. I haven't talked to him in a while, but hope everybody's doing well. A lot of stuff going on in the world right now. I'm really happy that Trump didn't attack Iran. I hope it's for the right reasons and not just because he's waiting to, do a bigger strike or whatever is going on.
Reminds me, what's the pizza tracker at? Anyone looked at it today?
What?
I'll check it right now. It wasn't going wild earlier, but I'll check it right now and see if they said anything.
No, the Pentagon pizza tracker. It's the number one way to track whether or not we're actually going to get a military strike. I love that this is the thing.
Yeah, it's so funny. But at the end of the day, we just got to hope that, I don't know, man. Honestly, like, Trump just had Tucker at the White House. Like, I like the way things are going. I mean, obviously things aren't exactly the way that we'd like, but look, like, there's a lot going on in the world right now. Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. So let's give
it
him a
depends
chance,
on your perspective. I think things seem to be going pretty well, but I'd rather us actually get a hold of our streets, our own streets, before I care about other places. But it turns out it's actually easier, which I find this very funny. It is actually easier to kidnap the president of another country in his bed than it is to fix the insurrectionist on our streets. Isn't that strange? Isn't that the craziest thing in the world? It's like we can actually go directly into a dude's bedroom in another country, take him out of his bed with his wife in like 2 hours. Apparently you can just do that, but we can't arrest the people on the streets of our, of Little Mogadishu up in Minnesota. So this is just beyond me.
And meanwhile, we're going into Minneapolis, and the same ICE agents are getting beat down with shovels. Like, are we serious right now?
It's the damnedest thing, dude. Apparently, we can just do whatever we want in other countries, but we can't fix it.
Well, you have mayors acting like they're federal officials. I mean, like, this is the craziest thing in the world. Like, the mayor of Jacob Bray, the guy who knelt and cried and kissed the gold coffin.
By the way, Jacob Frey, by the way, is Timu Justin Trudeau. I hope you guys are aware of that. He looks just like him. He acts just like him. He smells like, I swear to God, he does everything just like Justin Trudeau. I mean, I don't even have
Katy Perry.
Have you ever seen them in the same room before? I mean, I'm just asking questions.
Did you notice his tonality change too? Like, now he's got this. He's tough talking Jacob Frey.
Oh my God, he's, so obnoxious. This guy's got less testosterone than the guy that was pulled over by ICE protesters.
But then he says that Minnesota police officers are going to attack federal
Jewish,
officials.
by the way, no coincidence there.
Then he says that Minnesota police officers, the people are wanting Minnesota to fight ICE, Minnesota police officers to fight ICE in the streets. And you saw the chief of police, his eyebrows raised, like, this is not going good,
You had the governor of Minnesota saying we were at war with the fucking
that's the craziest thing in the world to me. Like, he's actually out there saying we're at war with the federal government. Like, what are we doing? Like, seriously, like at this point, it's crazy to me that this is happening. Priya, you had something to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, see, like you were saying, it's a crazy thing that we can go and kidnap a president of another country and we're not able to track down all of these violent ICE protesters. The problem is that we do have the capability to do it because guess what? The FBI tracked down every single grandma that walked through the Capitol and took a selfie on January 6th.
Yep.
We're not
Great point. Yep.
Well, and I actually think this is a great point, Priya.
Hold on 1 second. Priya, you're rubber banding.
Yeah, Priya, you're rubber banding pretty bad. You might have to recycle. If you drop to listener, I'll bring you right back up. But you actually have a really important point there because There's a great list that somebody put out a couple days ago. I don't know if you guys saw this list, that it was all of the people that the Biden administration arrested. And it was like hundreds of people, right? Hundreds and hundreds of people. And then we looked at us. We've arrested zero people. Drives me crazy. I mean, it's apparently, you know, I someone said this the other day. It's one of the guys is kind of a he's a left-wing guy, but he comes to these spaces. Jared, he was like, you know, if you want to know how to arrest people, ask the Democrats. They're pretty good at it. I was like, no shit. I mean, seriously though, like, fair point. They're pretty good at arresting people. We're not very good at it, apparently. I don't know why. We can't arrest anybody. Hell, we can't even indict James Comey.
Evidence on the table, and for some odd reason, we're just like, you know what? We're just gonna leave the evidence there. Let them do whatever. And just to touch on the Governor Waltz thing, is that as soon as you incite violence as a political leader, that should be an instant red flag for the federal government to come in and completely take all your power away. Realistically, you should not be able to incite violence saying we're at war with the federal government and then come back and say, everybody put your weapons down. Sorry, but not sorry. You can't really say that and then think that that's okay. I hope that they play these tapes when he has to come and talk to Congress, because as soon as they do, I hope that they find a way to remove him from power, because every other governor that I've seen has never said that to their people. Maybe Newsom has said some borderline things, but he's never said anything like, oh yeah, take to the streets, we're at the war with the federal government.
It's nuts.
Like, he's never said that.
It's insanity. It really is. Okay, Priya, we got you back up here. Let's see if we fixed your audio. You can hear us now? Maybe not. Doesn't look like it. Okay.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Now we can hear you. There we go.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. No, I pretty much wrapped up my point, but I heard what you guys said. Yeah, I completely agree. And that list that you pointed out that was dropped the other day, Walter, is a really, really good point to rise, because yeah, we've done absolutely nothing. They all wanted to complain about how we were like basically using lawfare against like our political adversaries. And that's very clearly not the case. It's been very one-sided, left to right this entire time.
Yeah. I mean, the lawfare has been ridiculous on one side of the aisle the entire time. And the fact that we're even dealing with this now drives me nuts. I mean, it just drives me crazy that we can't arrest anybody. I mean, the thing that keeps bothering me is that if we can't arrest the people that tried to, you know, open a counterintelligence operation on a sitting president, well, what are we doing? I mean, really? I mean, these people should be in prison for the rest of their fucking lives. They should be. They tried to overthrow a sitting president. That's what they did. And we know who they are. That's what drives me nuts. Like, how is
this?
That's
the moderate way of doing it too, by the way.
I mean, again,
yeah, no, absolutely it is.
Trust me. My opinion on it is that they should be hung from gibbets in front of the White House on the front lawn for all to see. But that's not going to happen. Okay, like that's not going to happen. We're not going to execute people and leave their bodies out to hang for the crows. Okay, that should happen.
Sounds really good.
I'm all for public executions. I just want to state for the record.
Listen, we were a better society when you knew if you did something wrong that the citizens of that area could string your ass up in front of the entire public. It worked better.
Fuck around like they are right now.
That's right.
Brought that shit back, 100%.
Well, people understood and respected the importance of their constitutional rights. They respected and understood the rule of law, and they damn sure didn't, you know, disrespect and go crazy and surround law enforcement. You know, I mean, the thing is, they aren't even hiding. They weren't even hiding what they did to the president of the United States. They weren't even hiding what they were going to do to the president of the United States had they not stolen 2020. If he would have won in 2020, they already had a whole paper, a whole plan. It was public. You know, I mean, like, this is the crazy thing.
I mean, it's crazy to me because the deal is that these people, not only are they completely public in what they did, most of the people that were involved in the actual counterintelligence operation, when they got fired from the FBI, when Biden came in, they got multi-million-dollar settlements from the DOJ. So not only have they not been punished, but they have been rewarded with millions of dollars for trying to overthrow the president of the United States. That can't stand. I mean, to me, I don't understand how we even have a country if the intelligence agencies can do whatever the hell they want and overthrow a duly elected president. How do we have a country? I mean, this is something that, to me, if you want to actually lose and never manage to get back the trust of the people in this country in federal law enforcement, stuff like that, you have to arrest those people. Otherwise, you'll never get it. I mean, like, look, I say this all the time on this show. I want to go back to the time where I'm the weird guy out that hates the FBI and the federal government. Like, I wouldn't be back to that, where I'm the one dude who's like, no, they're terrible. They're the worst and most corrupt and useless organization. Rip it down from the bottom up. I want to go back to that, because now almost everybody that I know thinks like that, and that's not a good thing. Okay, when most of the citizens of the country don't believe that the federal law enforcement is a good and a just organization that does good things, that's not good. It's a bad thing for a country.
Yeah, you have a lot of idiots right now that are saying like all of ICE is fucking IDF, Israeli fucking Mossad.
Yeah, it's stupid.
So it's crazy. Like, so
it's nonsense.
That's just what happens. Yeah.
The deal is when you break the trust in government and then you don't restore it because you don't arrest anybody that actually needs to be arrested. I mean, right now, everybody still thinks that we're living in a world. And to be honest with you, I guess we are living in a world where there is a two-tier justice system. Some people go to jail. Other people, nothing happens to them. They can do whatever the fuck they want. That's a huge problem. That is a huge problem. Until you fix that, you're never going to regain the trust of most of these people. And what they've been trying to do, and I understand what the concept is, they've been trying to actually have the FBI go out there and arrest lots of bad people, which good. But you know what the deal is? That's what you're supposed to do. That's the baseline. That's what your general purpose was originally, is to go and arrest lots of international, interstate criminals. That's what the FBI's purpose was. But the problem is that it then went after every political opponent of the president for the past 10 years and tried to overthrow the country and threw every single grandma that was 70 years old that walked around in the Capitol for 5 seconds in prison. Okay? You have to fix that. If you don't fix that and actually have some accountability for those unjust and unconstitutional actions, it don't matter how many criminals you arrest. I still think the FBI sucks. And I think most people do. And that's a huge problem. I mean, I wish there was a way that you could say, well, no, Cash has done a great job. Well, not really. I mean, to me, unless you arrest the people that tried to overthrow the country, I don't give a shit what you do. You can arrest as many fentanyl dealers as you want. Good for you. Good. Well done. Yippee. Yahoo. That's fantastic. Arrest more of those people. But that's what the baseline is. That's mediocrity. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what the organization was built for. Go arrest the people that tried to overthrow the country. Figure it out. I don't know what you got to do, but figure it out. The Democrats figured it out. So how in the hell can't we do it? My God. I mean, I know we got activist judges everywhere across the country, and they've essentially what they're really doing is they're flaunting that. They're flaunting the fact that they have control of the courts. A lot of people wonder why they focus so much on the Maryland man, why they care so much about this one dude. Why do they care about this one MS-13 gangbanger? It's a message. The message is you can't deport anybody because we own the courts. Not even an obvious MS-13 gangbanging wife beater. You can't even deport that guy. That's what the message is. And they've made it pretty damn clear. I mean, everybody sees it. You can't deport even that guy? I mean, it's a joke. But the deal is the Democrats are using it as their messaging platform. They've got a perfect message.
A judge did overturn that. So I don't know if you read that recently. A judge did overturn that, said that judge had no right to order his release. He will be going back to probably like Syria or wherever.
Well, listen, the other part about that was I was just enjoying the headlines on him were hysterical, because at one point they were going to send him to, what was it? What was the name of the place, Chris? It was like, it was like they're sending him to some random country no one had ever heard of. And then we looked it up and it was like, yeah, this country is formerly known as Swaziland. I was like, what where the hell is that? Like, no one knows where Swaziland is, but it was, they keep like listing different places he was going to go to. I don't care where they sent him. Okay, just get him out. Same thing with Mahoud Khalil, but which, by the way, that actually did just get overturned. Khalil did just get his conviction or his release overturned, which is good.
Well, and what the court ruled was what everybody knows, is that federal judges have no authority to interfere with the director of Homeland Security and ICE ruling on who needs to be deported. Like they have, if they have the probable cause, they have the authority, and this is the problem with these activist judges. I don't know. I mean, I feel like they should be relatively intelligent as judges, as judicial, U.S. district judges, to know court precedents. But I also feel like the reality is they probably know it, and they're just doing it just to stall, just to create a process, just to get it to the appellate court, just to run the clock down to the midterms, just to show, again, because it's all political theater, hence the title of this show. And that is, I think, one of the missing portions of where Kash Patel's FBI, Pam Bondi's DOJ, and even I don't know about Kristi Noem's Homeland Security, because they're making a pretty good show. But the point
Listen to
is,
me. I think HSI and ICE have done a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I think, again, when you look at the organizations that have not done well, when I look at all the different groups that have, I think, could use significant improvement, the DOJ is it. Okay, the DOJ is the number one thing to me that has not done anything that I'm very impressed by. And I look, dropping crime rate across the country is awesome. Good for you. That's what you're supposed to do. The only reason that it's working now is because you're not out there arresting MAGA supporters all day. That's the only reason it's working properly. The reason it was not working properly is because you were arresting MAGA hats. I mean, there's literally an article. You can go back and read this. This is the first of the year when there was that terrorist attack in New Orleans, okay? There was an FBI agent who was really frustrated and talked to a reporter. He said, yeah, the reason this kind of stuff happens is because for the past 6 years, the FBI's number one focus was arresting people with MAGA hats on. He said it live. I mean, this is a direct quote from an FBI agent. He said that out loud. So, yeah, amazing. When you stop arresting people that don't deserve it and actually focus on what you're supposed to, you got to go back to your normal job. Well done. You drop crime. Good for you. But you still got to deal with the stuff, the people that were unconstitutionally violating the rights of Americans. Arresting moms and putting mothers going to school board meetings on domestic terrorist watch lists. Like, how about we don't do that? How about we get rid of those people? There are several of those guys that got promotions underneath Cash's FBI. It drives me crazy. I mean, this is the stuff that we can't have. If you have violated Americans' constitutional rights in the FBI, you deserve to lose your job and go to prison. I'll settle for lose your job. That's what should happen. You should have no job in the federal government whatsoever if you violate our rights.
And you should have no security access. Here's the dirty little secret that people don't want to know about that I can tell you with 100% confidential sourcing, okay? The people who are being fired for January 6th that violated Americans' constitutional rights, the people who are being fired for refusing to comply with religious exemptions. This is what's also happened in the FBI, right? Where people brought religious exemptions to the table and they ignored them. They told them that they weren't existing and they essentially lost their job, right? Those people have not lost their security clearances. So what they're doing is they're going to a private sector contractor in the exact same field, keeping their access and still being able to access their officials in these departments and have influence.
Listen to me. One of the things I said a long time ago is that one of the things we needed to do almost immediately when Trump took over is you need to revoke almost every security clearance in the country. Immediately. Just get rid of them, almost all of them, because the amount of people that have security clearances for stuff that they really shouldn't. I mean, the fact that there was at one point, I remember someone explaining to me that, this is back in Trump 1, that Hillary Clinton was still briefed on everything as essentially she was still Secretary of State. Like, what? That sort of stuff. No. Okay. Like anybody that's associated with the Democrats and, Elias's entire law firms, which by the way, they did axe their security clearances almost immediately. I was very happy to hear that because they should have never had them in the first place. But get rid of these people. Get rid of these people. We don't need them. Okay. I want to welcome Matt Tardy.
John Kerry. Remember John Kerry? You remember John Kerry going to Iran while we were trying to do while Trump 1 was trying to do the handle Iran. John Kerry is
flying around in his green trash cape as he's trying to save the world from pollution with his private jet.
Wouldn't even shake my hand when I met him in a grocery store.
John Kerry is a scumbag. Okay, I want to welcome Matt Tardy to the show. What's up, Matt?
Hey, what's up, brother? I want to let you know, how far have you gone into the whole lot of cash scheme that we've been talking about on the side?
Well, we've been doing that for about an hour before we did an hour of that, and now we've gone into other discussions for the next 45 minutes or so. But yeah, a whole lot of cash is obviously a huge problem. So if we want to bounce back onto that and catch everybody else up, yeah, because Matt, by the way, guys, Matt, myself, and Data Republican have been all over this. We've been all over this story for weeks. And this stuff, we keep finding more and more links so we can catch people back up to where we're at. What else have you been working on tonight, Matt?
Just got done with my show. A little bit no pun intended here, but my brain has exploded that nobody else has reported on the gas line that exploded about an hour north of Minneapolis. That blows my mind. A lot of people have looked at it and been like, why the heck did this thing explode in two different locations, hundreds of meters apart? I couldn't tell you to save the life of me. But the local authorities are trying to say that there's no nothing, they don't suspect foul play at this point. I don't understand how you could have two different points rupture, detonate, ignite at the exact same time. So that's kind of odd to me.
Can you go
But
into the
aside from
detail of
that,
it, Matt, by chance? Like what company is it, etc.?
I don't remember what company. I don't have the information in front of me right now. I'm actually running out to grab a snack because it's Friday night and I want to have some chocolate instead of a protein bar. So I'm because it's Friday, baby.
Yeah, hey, go check out the Hawala Mart. I think they have really cheap. You can get cheap anything at the Hawala Mart. I heard you can get it's a one-stop shop. They sell Jubba. They have Jubba Mart there as well. So Jubba worldwide. You can get pretty much anything you need there.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah.
You can also get. You can also catch a flight to Somalia
too. I have the information for the gas pipeline up over my profile. You might have to go down 1 or 2 posts. But the information about the gas pipeline explosion, where it's at, and the line itself, what town it's outside, but it's about 90 miles north, straight up I-35, in a little town. They evacuated the town. All of this happened around, I want to say it was 2:30 local ish when the thing detonated. They said it was so powerful it ended up shaking all the houses and everything when it went off. But you guys can see images and some pictures.
They evacuated the town? That's a hell of an explosion if they evacuated the town.
That's what I'm saying. And it's not the main pipeline itself. It's a branch line or a feed line that's going into the town. But it runs due north and south. So
it says, I'm looking at this local article, Matt, and it says it's in Pine County and it's west of the Willow River. Wherever that's at.
Willow River's the name of the town, and then if you look to the left, you'll see some lakes. And I've got a map up over my profile, and that pin drop is fairly close, but it's the biggest lake that's just a little bit further to the west outside of the town. There's several small lakes, and that's the big one. And I believe it exploded on the south side of it.
Interesting. Well, that's wild. That's completely crazy. I mean, I hadn't even heard about. I mean, I heard someone talked about the explosion a minute ago, but I wasn't. I didn't know it was like some major explosion with 2 different points on it. That's pretty interesting. So I have to keep an eye on that and see what exactly is going on with that because that's very strange.
Like we needed another reason to pour more money into Minnesota.
Oh God.
Well, that's what's gonna happen. You can't leave ruptured pipelines just undone.
Well, the good thing is that there's a great source of cash right downtown at the Jubba Value Center. So just head on down, and they've got enough money for you that you can fix. You could fix 5 towns worth of pipelines. I mean, they've got $700 million in cash just sitting around. So make sure you go check out Jubba.
Got more money than
they've got more money than the city of Minneapolis. I mean, they've got more. They've got the GDP of Minnesota sitting at the Jubba Value Center. So just go down there and check them out. I'm sure they can help out. I'm sure the loan will be very good terms. You just have to send 60% of it to Mogadishu. So I'm sure that's how that works. Anyway, but
yeah, I've been telling people that this is probably a low-level domestic terrorist attack or something because I've worked on pipelines before. There's so many protections and precautions on these high-pressure lines. For you to see fire at 2 separate locations, nowhere near any of the systems that actually feed or pump or any of that, like that, where these locations are at. And Matt pointed out, it's two spots on fire at the same time. Like this is. I cannot, from any experience I have, I just don't see it being an accident. It doesn't make sense at all because but the pipes are designed and coded and everything. Like nothing, even if it breaks and explodes, there's no sparks. They're designed not to even ignite the gas
listen, so that's not, listen, gas explosions do happen from time to time, and they do stuff like, take out whole buildings and shit like that. Like that does happen. Okay. It's not like it's completely uncommon, but what's uncommon here is the fact that there's 2 of them so close to each other. Okay. Like if it's
you
just
gotta
one,
see the video, Walter. You gotta watch it. I'm telling you.
I mean, I've got to watch the video, but I'm just saying that, and just in general, gas explosions are not super uncommon across the United States. I mean, there was one over here in Ohio, not probably a couple months ago, where it just took out a whole house. Like the whole house just gone. Fortunately, people weren't there, but just wiped the whole thing off the face of the earth.
The house gas pipeline explosions are fairly common. This one's running through an open field. Nothing else is around it, and it's in 2 separate locations. And what I understand about gas, if you compress it, right? So you can do this with air, for example. Like I can take, it's an old school fire starting technique, and I talked about it on my show tonight. You can take a hollow tube, if you will, and have a rod inside of it that fits the inner diameter of that hollow tube. Put some, lint or whatever down on the bottom of it. As long as it's tight enough, you slap that rod down in there, kind of like an old school ramrod in a muzzle loader, and you do it quick enough, the compressed air gets hot enough to ignite your tinder inside the tube. I forget what the heck the device is actually called, but I mean, you can make them. But point being, if there's an explosion in one location, I guess my question for the guy that says he's worked on these pipelines, if you have an explosion in one location, and it's detonating as it's going down, obviously, so it's compressing all of that gas as it goes down. Is it possible that it's getting compressed almost like a diesel engine, igniting diesel? Is it compressing to the point of ignition? Is that possible to cause a second blowout?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that actually does make sense.
It's me, Matt Key. So the way that I understand it, and obviously I've never actually like tried to cause one, but we're taught a little bit about like how that happens. So the gas does actually hit supersonic, so it can ignite, right? Like what you were saying. So if there is a leak, just the pressure alone from the gas escaping can cause it to ignite. But 2 locations is where I'm like, that's where I'm like, in one location, I'm perfectly fine with that. But did it possibly ignite, backfeed, and then blow out another safety valve? That's possible too, because they're designed actually to not travel through the pipe. There's sections of the pipe designed to where it's going to then, where it'll cease. If it backfeeds through the pipeline, it'll blow out those valves.
Right.
Yeah, like safety.
Hey, by the way, guys, real quick here. So I'm actually going to keep the show on this evening, but I'm going to end the live video version, and we're going to stay on the show. So I'm going to go ahead and exit at the actual live stream here so that way we can keep this, because I try to keep those to 2 hours when I email those out. So real quick here, guys. Everybody's listening on all the other platforms, Rumble, Substack, YouTube. This is the Political Theater. Thank you guys for being here. Make sure you guys go check out WCDispatch.com. And if you guys want to continue hanging out on the show, we're going to have an open mic. You guys can all request, and it's going to be on x.com. Go to @WCDispatch, and the space is going to remain live. So thank you guys for joining us on the live video version. Chris, make sure you join up on the X space, because we're going to keep it going.
I just put a speaker request in.
Yep, I'll get you up there in just a second, guys. But everybody else on the live show, if you want to join us on the actual X space, we're going to keep that running for the evening because it's Friday night, and I don't have anything else to do. So I'll make sure we get everybody else up here, and we're going to keep